I think this is genuinely fascinating. You know, of all of the Star Wars products we hear about, there's so many, and yet none of them really get made, right? We've heard so many being announced over the years. None get made. Very few, anyway. Imagine all the ones that we don't hear about. Like this. Like this. Adam Driver and Steven Soderbergh developed The Hunt for Ben Solo. When was that announced? It wasn't, was it? That's the thing. There are a lot of movies that are being developed. Well, there's a lot of movies being developed which get announced that we just get scrapped. And then there's so many which are being developed which are not announced and just get scrapped. So the amount of product that Disney is rolling through, and I guess the sort of goodwill capital that they have built up with not only the fans, because remember the fans hate them, but also directors, you know, filmmakers and actors alike. God, it must be so bad. So bad. So I saw this and I thought, well, this is definitely worthwhile talking about. Star Wars developed Adam Driver, The Hunt for Ben Solo, and then they just scrapped it. Mental. Wow. So funny. Actually funny. So funny. So, as this says, after spending the past 6 years telling Star Wars stories on streaming, Lucasfilm is bringing the franchise back to theatres next year with The Mandalorian and Grogu. Star Wars Starfighter will follow in 2027, though the future beyond those movies is less certain. Even though we had, again, just to reiterate, another 2 movies that were announced. Technically 3, actually, which they mentioned one here. So, the other 2, there was the Sharmina Obaid-Chinoy Rey movie. What's going on with that? No one knows. Then there was also the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi, or whatever it was. Right, the Origin of the Jedi, that movie. That was announced. And that's not happening either, is it? And then there was the Simon Kinberg new trilogy that's been announced. Taika Waititi movie that was announced. Still the Rian Johnson movies that were announced. And so many others. And yet nothing is happening. So funny. And no one wants Simon Kinberg to do it, obviously. Simon Kinberg's a loser. He makes crap movies. You know, he's a producer on Star Wars Rebels, sure. But his, like, pretty much major directorial debut, I think, was Dark Phoenix. If I remember rightly, I'm pretty certain that was his directorial debut. And that was garbage. Like, literal garbage. So the projects announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023 are also in limbo. The Rey movie, like I said. Oh, there's also Dave Filoni's movie, wasn't there? What was going on with that? I'd forgotten about that one. There's so many that you just forget about. Dave Filoni's Mandoverse. Yeah, all right, mate. Sure. Well, anyway, let's add another one to the proverbial trash heap. So it turns out that another Star Wars movie was in development for 2 years. Can you imagine how much money they're pissing up the wall on these things that never materialise? So, and apparently the social media reaction is quite good. I don't see why, but okay. So in a new interview with AP News, Star Wars sequel trilogy star Adam Driver revealed that he and filmmaker Steven, is it Soderbergh? Or Soderbergh? I never knew how to say that. Anyway, they were developing The Hunt for Ben Solo. Lucasfilm loved it. Disney scrapped it though. You're all mental. You're all mental. So he said, quote, "I was always interested in doing another Star Wars," Driver told the site. "I had been talking about doing another one since 2021. Kathleen Kennedy had reached out, and I always said, with a great director and a great story, I'd be there in a second. I loved that character and loved playing him since 2021. 2021, this had started. So, saying he had unfinished business with Kylo Ren after the character found redemption and then died in the closing moments of 2019's The Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, sorry, that was my Emperor impression. Anyway, so Driver got Stephen on board, who teamed with screenwriter Rebecca Blunt, who did Logan Lucky. That was actually, I like that movie, that was all right. To crack the story, Scott Z. Burns then started work on the screenplay, and they pitched the movie to Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy, Carrie Beck, and Dave Filoni. We presented the script to Lucasfilm. They loved the idea. They love any idea. Like, I could literally shit in my hands, clap, and the fecal matter that flies through the air land on a piece of paper, and they'd be like, it's amazing. So they love anything. They totally understood our angle and why we were doing it. It was called The Hunt for Ben Solo, and it was really cool. We took it to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, and they said no. They didn't see how Ben Solo was alive, and that was that. How the fuck was he alive? What? How was he alive? Describing the first draft as one of the coolest effing scripts I had ever been a part of, Steven Soderbergh said in a statement. I really enjoyed making the movie in my head. I'm just sorry the fans won't get to see it. What? A movie following his redemption would have been arguably hugely exciting. No, it wouldn't. And it's baffling that Iger and Bergman couldn't wrap their head around Ben surviving his wounds when he died in the same movie that saw Emperor Palpatine rise from the grave. Yeah, that is dumb. But some people have to die. Like what? Otherwise, what's the point? So anyway, Driver said, we wanted to be judicial about how to spend money and be economical with it and do it for less than most, but in the same spirit of what those movies are, which is handmade and character driven. Empire Strikes Back being, in my opinion, the standard of what these movies were. But he is, to me, one of my favourite directors of all time. He lives his code, lives his ethics, doesn't compromise. So there you go. We almost got a Ben Solo movie. Somehow, Kylo Ren returned. So lame. So lame. What do you guys think? Genuinely, what do you think? Let me know down below. We're curious to hear it.